Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ketogenic Fasting Project. This is Tom here. Want to do another quick video about transitioning onto a diet. I know a lot of people they kind of dread it. They want to know how to plan, and they want to prepare both probably mentally and do some shopping or whatever, or know what to expect. So that could probably be a big part of being successful in the beginning. So, or a big part of not stumbling anyways, right? So one of the things that probably a lot of people are going to benefit from is if you're fat adapted. The better you can metabolize fat, the more energy you'll have available and the better you'll feel. You'll have energy. So I know a lot of people, that's a kind of a hurdle on the ketogenic diet. And the ketogenic diet tends to be a little bit heavier on fat. The carnivore diet really just kind of self-selective, depends on what kind of meats you wind up eating. So most people on the carnivore diet seem to be in sort of a mild state of ketosis. They don't necessarily seem to have the high levels of beta hydroxybutyrate, but they also don't seem to get high levels of blood sugar from eating more protein. So you're going to want to be able to metabolize more protein and fat than you've probably been eating if you're eating carbohydrates, because a lot of people get a lot of their calories from carbohydrates, and that's why they're eating so frequently. So as you lower your carbohydrate intake and increase your fat and protein intake, you're actually eventually going to need less food, because meat in particular tends to be more nutritional, has a higher nutritional density than does carbohydrates. And of course, fat has double the calories, or a little more than double the calories than carbohydrates, and probably even more so when you compare fat to carbohydrates, or protein to fat, because while a gram of carbohydrate has 4 calories and a gram of protein has 4 calories, and a gram of fat has 9, so it's more than double. But protein in itself, one, it takes more energy to turn that protein into calories, so there's a little bit of a loss there. And then on top of that, some of that protein is going to be used for building muscle and stuff like that, so it's not quite as efficient when you're talking about caloric intake, but it tends to be more satisfying. Carbohydrates tend to be less satisfying, and that's why people eat them more frequently. So anyways, if you could lean towards getting fat adapted and being able to metabolize more fat and perhaps metabolize more protein by gradually ratcheting up the content of those foods and ratcheting back the carbohydrate, it'd probably be a little easier. And then don't try too many things at once, because people get excited about getting on a better diet, and they sometimes you just start having more energy right away. Some people kind of have sort of a keto flu kind of thing, where you basically have an energy lag, or you get dehydrated. And but a lot of people just feel better and they want to do more, but you don't want to get too crazy from the get-go. You want to kind of increase things at a sensible pace, particularly if you haven't been real active. You don't want to run out and injure yourself. You don't want to blow out a knee or something and then have a big setback. So when people cut back carbohydrates, they do frequently get dehydrated. So that's can show up in the form of sort of that keto flu kind of experience, or it can show up in low blood pressure. Sometimes people get a little dizzy when they stand up or whatever. That's because when you cut back on the carbohydrates, your body tends to let go of a lot of water and a lot of sodium. That frequently accounts for some of the weight loss up front. So when you are first planning out your menu, you probably want to stick to foods that you're already familiar with and comfortable with. there's no harm in having a bunch of hamburger patties. I mean, if you already love ribeyes, and that's kind of a staple in a carnivore diet. I use fried cheese like sometimes. I don't really have a lot of patience to stand around and fry cheese every day, but every couple of weekends or something, I'll make some. And that can be it's very satisfying, and it typically will fill you really quick. So like you do a hot dog in rolled up grated cheese, that's been fried in a nonstick pan. That pretty much will set back your hunger really fast. I know I really like my only really favorite form of chicken is probably a rotisserie chicken. I know those chickens that you get at like Costco or the supermarket or Sam's Club. They're probably injected with water, and they've got all kinds of seasonings on them and stuff. And I haven't actually had one in quite some time, but if that's a tasty food you enjoy, they're usually very affordable, and you could roll in there, pick one up, and eat it. It's ready to go. It makes your life a little easier. Then why not? Chicken may not be the most satisfying of the meats for a lot of people, but if it's going to get you started and it's going to make your life easier, then go for it. A lot of people like tuna, so you probably don't want to eat your tuna dry, but if you want to start out mixing with avocado or using some sort of mayonnaise maybe that's not made with soybean oil or something like that, maybe you can get some good stuff that's made with avocado oil or olive oil. Make it yourself. It's easy. I did a video on making condiments a long time ago. It's still on YouTube, but making your own mayo. Eventually you're probably going to give up mayo. You're probably going to give up fried cheese, and you're probably going to give up sweeteners and stuff like that. You might even be love your coffee or something, and you're going to give that up eventually, but you don't necessarily need to give up all those things to get started. Those are probably some of the safer things to help you get started. So lunch meats, hot dogs, stuff like that. You could get uncured hot dogs now. They don't last as long in the fridge. You get a shorter window to eat them, but that stuff's pretty common. And you can get turkey and ham, and maybe you want to eat that with a little cream cheese or something. If you don't have a problem with high fat dairy, the things like cream cheese and heavy whipping cream tend to have very little milk in them, so they're kind of a niche in the dairy category that some people tolerate really well, and they could be a good way to adjust your fat if you're eating, because like you go out and buy some turkey and it's like super lean. You may want to add a little fat in. Same thing with tuna, especially canned tunas typically, or even canned chicken. It's really dry, doesn't have much fat in it. So I myself, I frequently eat Braunschweiger or liverwurst, especially right now when I'm doing the PKD diet, and I don't always have fresh liver on hand. So I kind of sub that in, that's my backup to make sure I get some liver. It's got other ingredients in it. It's got like potato starch and weird stuff in it, but it doesn't raise my blood sugar, and it is a source of liver, so I'm going with it for now as kind of a stopgap. So it doesn't spoil easy. It travels well. I can throw it in the fridge at work, and it's there when I need something to eat. So so if you need to process meats or whatever, they're going to be better than drinking soda or eating French fries or cereal or potato chips and stuff like that. So use them as stepping stones, and as you get used to to this way of eating, I think when I first started, one of the first things I did the first day, I like had this concept of low carb. I went to In-N-Out, and I think I ate 3 double doubles that were protein style, which means they were wrapped in lettuce. There was no bun, so I ordered them with no spread, which is like their dressing. I think it's like a Thousand Island dressing and stuff. And I did eat it with lettuce and tomato, but of course this is pre-carnivore. But if you're used to that kind of stuff and you're tapering off, I think lettuce and tomato are probably some of the lesser offensive plant materials, because I myself am probably kind of sensitive to tomatoes, and they are a nightshade, So people who are sensitive to nightshades may want to eliminate it. But something in that realm, is if you're from Southern California, you're probably an In-N-Out fan. So you could go there and get that, or a Flying Dutchman, which is just basically two meat patties with a piece of cheese in it. And I think I've seen pictures that Sean Baker posted where he can eat like 8 of those or something. It's insane. I think I ordered 4 Flying Dutchman one time, and I was freaking stuffed. I was stuffed for a long time, for hours and hours. So, but that's something you can do. And a lot of people go to Wendy's and order meat patties, ground beef. Even if I have a little press that you could make meat patties in. Somebody gave me as a gift. You go buy a bunch of ground chuck. You can get 10%, 15%, sometimes 20% fat, whatever suits you. Press your own patties, have them on hand, even weigh them out if you want to know how much you're eating, and how much you're eating or how much you want to eat is going to vary. And eventually you're probably going to want to make actual deliberate adjustments to how much protein or versus fat, or how much total calories. So, keeping some notes on that stuff, at least being able to eyeball amounts, is good practice, but you don't necessarily need to sweat it so much. If you're on a keto diet, you're going to be watching your macronutrients. You're going to be balancing fat and protein and carbohydrate pretty meticulously, especially in the beginning, to get it right. Because that's good. That's good practice, because it's so different from the way most people used to eat. In a carnivore diet, you don't necessarily need to worry about that so much. You're going to eat meat and drink water as a principle. And if you season your meat, so what? If you eat some cheese, so what? Nobody's going to jail if you decide to eat a salad or something. But the point is, you don't need any of that food. But if you're gonna get on this diet and then wean yourself off the really bad foods, like the grains and the vegetable oils and stuff like that, a salad's not really going to be the big issue, and that's something you can do away with later on. So, the idea is to eat meat, drink water, and feel better. Make sure you have some food around the house, especially in the evening, because you might be thinking, well, I really don't want to eat because it's late, but I'm hungry. And, if having some meat on hand is going to keep you from, I don't know, eating ice cream or drinking a bottle of wine or whatever is going to be less productive, then, eat that meat. Don't worry so much about eating one meal a day. I think that it fluctuates for a lot of people. Where it's like, well, one day you eat one meal and you're great, another day you need 2, and then there's some days where you need 3. Of course, your activity level is going to change. Your protein and fat ratios are going to fluctuate sometimes. I mean, nobody's going to the store and buying an identical ribeye every day. Well, there might be some people, but most people aren't. Most of us are going to be eating hamburger one time. You might be eating some chuck roast another time. You might be eating some, I had a bunch of top round that I made jerky out of, and it was shocking how much of that you could eat at one time once it was dried. And I just did an experiment where I ate London broil for about a week with the brains and the liver, and now I'm back on to top sirloin. Top sirloin has a little more fat in it, and it's a little more tender. And I think I kind of grew up eating the top sirloin. That was our steak. That's the treat we got once a week or once every couple of weeks at home, and so I'm kind of used to that flavor of the top sirloin. So, whatever it takes to make sure that you got something on hand. I know I take extra food with me to work. I have access to a mini fridge. I only share with one other person, so I can keep it pretty stocked. I keep a can of like sparkling water in there, or sometimes I'll have like a Perrier or something, and I want something a little different. I still drink coffee or tea. I'm drinking decaf these days. So, I have given up coffee completely a while back for like a month, and I kind of went back to drinking it just because I enjoyed it, and most of my other beverage is just water. So, and then sometimes I'm like, well, I'll drink some tea. So it's basically just flavored water, but I don't really drink it that often. I know there was one week I probably had it like 3 days in a row, and then I haven't had any since. So whatever. I don't think they were particularly detrimental to my diet. It was just a matter of a little bit of variety and probably just satisfying a little boredom. What you probably want to avoid is some of the foods like a lot of people come to carnivore from keto. You probably want to avoid the fat bombs and the nuts, stuff like that. Nuts can be pretty hard to digest. Even almonds could have a lot of phytates in them or oxalates in them, and then things like cashews have a lot of sugar in them. So, if you can give that stuff up right out of the gate, you're probably better off, especially making stuff out of nut flours. On the other hand, if you really need some sort of bread, you're probably better off eating something made out of almond flour or coconut flour or something than you are eating regular bread, made from grains. So, that's kind of a personal adjustment you might make. I'm not really big on making substitute foods, but if that's what some people need to be successful, then you go for it. We all have to figure out what we can afford, what we have time to prepare, and what's gonna get us to our goals. And this is the only point in doing this is to feel better or to meet a goal or to manage a disease. There's no points. I like to say there's no brownie points for being a purist. There's just results. So whatever it takes to get you to your results. So anyways, I just thought since starting a new diet is a big deal, and sticking to it, especially in the beginning, can be a problem. I thought I'd do another video on transition. So thanks for watching. If you get a chance, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, pass a link on, send it to somebody who might help. I'm working on adding material to a website called carnivoreinfo.com. It's basically just a repository for videos and studies and stuff like that. If you want to see what other people have done as far as improving their health, go to meatheals.com. I believe that's Sean Baker's website. With people with all kinds of medical problems, who have turned their health around by being on a carnivore diet. And of course, the Facebook groups. I had the Ketogenic Fasting Project still up. Autistic Carnivores is growing. I think we were up to 290 members today, which was fantastic, and that community's starting to grow. And I'm working on branching out with some of the other people in the autistic community, people who have both dietary and non-dietary related Facebook groups. Hopefully, we'll be doing some videos together soon. And then, of course, there's the classic the World Carnivore Tribe is probably the biggest Facebook group, and then 100% Carnivore and Beyond, and zeroing in on health, and the soon-to-be Carnivores Beating Autoimmune Disease. So if you're on Facebook, come and join us, and go ahead and leave me comments how I can make better videos, or what type of information people are interested in. All right. Thanks for viewing. Feel better.